Welcome, everybody. Laura and Dave Butler of Work Life Consulting, and we'll get right to it in just a second.
There we go.
To our Wednesday broadcast. I'm Laura Butler. We're Laura and Dave Butler of Work Life Consulting. And we provide customized online coaching programs that help individuals, teams, and leaders achieve greater work-life integration and satisfaction. Our services are tailored to fit your unique needs and include virtual workshops and keynote content. So welcome to our Wednesday discussion. Today, our agenda is going to be focusing on a continuation of confidence, which is, right? It's never ending. There's always
it's there for everybody all the time. I mean, I'm confident one day, and then the next day I get some new technology I don't understand, and I lose all my confidence.
Yeah, it's a very fleeting. So we're going to be talking about authentic confidence, and then we're also going to be talking about a concept called fake it till you make it, which I'm sure everybody has experienced in some way, shape, or form. And then we'll be talking about being clear on your story. So as we think about authentic confidence, what does that mean to you, Dave, when you think about authentic confidence?
Well, I think I separate the two words. Let's just talk about authenticity first. And I think confidence comes from being authentic. So let's talk about authentic. I'm a big fan of looking up root words, not just definitions of words, but the root words. How do they evolve to be what they are? And the word authentic, the initial part of it, the A-U-T, aut, is Greek for self. So you have author, you have authentic, authority. There's a lot of different ways that it gets used, but it starts with self. The implication, I think, meaning that you understand yourself, you know yourself, you're being real. There's a lot of ways that we have to say it, but I think in one way or another, we're all in search of self, our whole lives probably, and there's enough books written about it. But self-mastery, self-development, there's a lot of ways of looking at it. So I think I'd start there with the self part of authentic. And then a little bit later, we'll talk about authoring your own story. But for now, the authentic confidence, the idea of confidence being authentic comes from the fact that my confidence is rooted in myself, knowing what I believe in, knowing what I stand for, knowing what's important to me, knowing why I'm doing what I'm doing. So that self part, I think it leads to confidence, because when you show up and you're not being yourself, it doesn't take long for the confidence to disappear.
Yeah, it's trying to make up a story that's not there. It's something that doesn't really fit. It's like an outfit that doesn't fit right.
Right. So I always, with my background in the theater, I always go to Shakespeare. I just love Shakespeare. In Hamlet, the famous line is, "To thine own self be true." Yeah. So there's something about that I think rings true for all of this. Authentic leadership, authentic confidence. To thine own self be true. Be clear on what you stand for and what you believe, and bring that with you into whatever you're doing. That's confidence that will withstand new technologies.
And I think it reminds me of a little bit this morning. We were sitting in on that virtual summit of a colleague of ours who's the co-founder of something called Pharma Voice. And she was interviewing female leaders who have been very successful in their careers. And the consistent theme for me in that discussion was the idea of taking risks and jumping into something that you might not feel confident about. You have you're in a position that you're very safe. It's very easy. You can almost do it with your eyes closed. And then one of the leaders was asked to move to a different country, be the CEO, manage new people. And it was a huge leap. But if you don't take on those stretch positions, and stretch positions don't have to be going up. Maybe it's stretching this way, where the connections expand. which brings us to our second point, which is fake it till you make it.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, this has always had a deeper meaning for me, again, because of the theater, because so much of what you do in the theater, especially in rehearsal, is fake it until you make it. Fake it, meaning you're not trying to be false, but it takes a while to rehearse. You have to try things out. You have to make sure the costume fits. You have to make sure that the character fits. You know, you fill out the character with yourself until yourself is so much the character that you make it. I think another way of looking at it is to say, you know, fake it until you believe it. It's sort of the way that I look at it. If I do it enough and I rehearse enough, I start believing that I am Richard III.
Right. And Amy Cuddy, who some of you may know, she wrote this wonderful book called Presence. And she has a statement that she shares, which is fake it till you become it.
Right.
So I think when you think about becoming something, it's a journey. So even though we may be faking and we may feel like we're the imposter or we don't belong and that confidence shelf is pretty narrow, if we keep rehearsing and we keep stepping into the waters that we're not so certain of what's underneath there.
Right.
We grew up on the East Coast and we go into the ocean. You don't know if there's going to be a crab at your foot. So I think it's important that we step in there and try it out. So if you're just joining us, there's going to be a recording of this call, and we invite you to go back to the beginning and leave a comment if this kind of experience has happened to you. Have you had a crab bite your foot? And you tried to jump into something brand new. And has there been an experience where you've had to really just say, I can do this? And one of these leaders that I was listening to this morning was telling herself over and over again, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. And she doesn't need to worry that she doesn't, of course, but she does. I mean, it's anything that regardless of the level is going to be very difficult until we feel like we have the confidence.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the topic of risk is a good one. And I love that Gina Davis quote that says, if you don't take risks, you risk everything. So a certain amount of just get up and get out of bed every day has a certain amount of risk to it. So the willingness to go forward, to be brave, to be courageous, to have heart, to step into things that you're not used to or that are not guaranteed. It gives you a chance to grow, and it gives you a chance to experience parts of yourself that you didn't even know were there. I think what's better in some ways than saying, you've got this or I've got this, I like to say, I'm getting it. I'm getting there, and give myself that little bit of encouragement rather than giving up. And I think it's better to say, I'm on my way. I'm getting there. I need a little more rehearsal, but I'm getting there. I need to try this or learn that, but I'm getting there. And sooner or later, you get there.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfection. I mean, we can't be let out of the gate the first time into something new and expect to be perfect. With all the technology that's out there now, with all of us working remotely, Scrappy is the new perfect. Do I have to have a broadcast studio type setup to offer my programs online? Do I want it? Yeah. But I will get there and learn about what I need. So those of you who are joining and maybe have not been a part of our community before, you'll see the ticker on the bottom that will help take you to our website. And on there, we have a quiz that's specific for the world today around how do we handle remote work and how do we look at it in a way that isn't going to let the stress manage us so that we can manage stress.
Yeah.
So visit the website and download the quiz, and you'll see there's some follow up from there. So the other piece that we wanted to talk about today was being sure that we're clear on your story. Whoops, typo. On your story. See,
Scrappy.
Scrappy is the new perfect.
Be clear on your story.
Be clear on you story.
The you story. Well, just put a dot in there. Be clear on the you story.
So,
who are you?
is important to me because it involves so many things of what I started with early on in my career. My dad was a voiceover artist. He did worked with NBC Nightly News for 35 years and coached me on presentation and speaking. And I started to think as I realized maybe this is helpful, getting all of this support, and look what I do today. But I started to realize that what he did for a living was use his voice. And it became something that meant so much to me with the work that I do with women. Because women quite often don't step into that fake it till you make it and don't use their voice. And once they do, they're in it and they believe it. So the programs that I've created have been around helping women use their voice and speak up and stop apologizing. And so the program Stand Up, Speak Up, Wake Up, and Step Up is based on all of those pieces of the voice experience of me growing up that I had working with my dad. And what's yours?
Mine is got a couple of angles to it. Number one is the fact that my father went blind when I was 10. So I grew up, talking with him about that experience. And he said to me one time, if I hadn't lost my sight, I never would have learned to see. Meaning it really sharpened his listening. You lose one faculty, sometimes another faculty takes over. So he became extremely good at listening. It's almost like a bat, being able to have the sonics, knowing where the wall is, and knowing where the door is. So I've often thought of how that led to my being willing to, or my desire to want to help people see themselves, see their situation differently, change perspective, how important that is to be able to not get caught up in the way things seem, but to be able to really get underneath it and look a little bit further. But a further aspect of that was that along with being blind and then dying rather early in life, one of his statements was that he refused to become a vegetable. And about 8 years ago, when I got diagnosed with Parkinson's, that has come into every day. I remember that every day. I think I refuse to become a vegetable. So I get up and I get going and I greet the day for what it is. So there's a lot in a story and a lot that makes it come alive for me. I think it's listening to other people. So what I love about our coaching is listening to other people's core stories, their memento stories, their signature stories, the things that make a big difference. You can see on Laura's shelf and behind her, there's all kinds of little mementos. Every one of those mementos has a story, and every one of those stories has another piece of Laura.
Yeah, I would. And also, if you're listening either after the live recording or live now, leave a 1 in the chat if you have mementos, if you have the feeling that you've got a signature story that you could refresh and go back to that helps you with all the things that you did in your life and have continued to do in your life.
Well, so, I think what that has to do with confidence is that if you're feeling lack of confidence or you're going into a new situation, try and remember that signature story. Think about what it is that is really at the essence for you, and suddenly that confidence will come back.
Absolutely, I think it's a great topic because we forget sometimes that we have all of this kind of story DNA inside of us. So just to summarize, what we talked about today is the idea of authentic confidence and how that can get built up, how we can fake it till we make it or fake it till we become it, and integrating our story and being clear about what that is, to finalize the discussion on the behind me with mementos. I think about green space, green background and virtual backgrounds. And this means so much to me. I don't want to have something that's not me. That these are all parts. It's my kids, it's my relationships, it's my husband. It's, there's all sorts of stuff that are behind me and support me in the work that I do. So get used to seeing this, this behind me. So thanks for joining either live or beyond the date of today. But know that next week we will be back. Next Wednesday will be the 10th on another topic. We might go even deeper into confidence. We kind of get scrappy and we kind of feel like, what do we want to talk about today? If there's something in particular that you'd like to hear, please leave a comment and we'll be happy to dive deeper into it. Next week will be 3 o'clock, not 4 o'clock, for a couple of changes in our schedule. But thanks for joining us, and we look forward to having ongoing conversations about great topics in the world of work life. Bye for now.
To thine own self be true.
That's right.